Hey, real quick. So I just unlocked the next level of adulting. I got called for jury duty, and I got picked, and it was a murder case. Oh, this is gonna be a 3-parter. So I'll start with the jury selection. I just knew I wasn't gonna get picked. First of all, I was late. They told me to get there at 8:30 with traffic. I got there at 9:30, but apparently they were running late too. Right when I got where I needed to be, they called my name. We sat in assigned seat, heard presentations from attorneys on both sides, and that's when we found out it was a murder case. And then we were called on randomly to give our opinion. There were 60 of us, and the people I sat by were quite interesting. On my left was the girl with laryngitis, and to my right was a guy who seemed like he had gingivitis. But I just stayed focused on the presentation and the questions. I really thought I was on my way to getting eliminated. For example, the suspected murderer had 2 teardrop tattoos. Some people said it meant he killed 2 people. I said I thought it means 2 close ones have been killed. Then the attorney showed us a picture of the Straight Outta Compton movie, and I said, ooh, Straight Outta Compton, wrong move. He then called on me to explain why I liked the movie, and I said, oh, I don't watch movies. I just like Ice Cube. Shout out to NWA. So after all that, they finally picked their jurors. Contrary to what I was told, there was no elimination round and no one-on-one interview. Nope, they just called my name, and I was so confused. You mean this, Hope? And this is the final round. And before I can even process anything, the judge told us that the trial was gonna start in an hour and 30 minutes. So the murderer is here? You know, before I got there, I actually said, Lord, this better be a murder case or this county just wasted my time. Oh, he answered that prayer. I wonder why my prayers about money aren't answered so quickly. More of the story is be careful what you pray for, because the fate of a man's life could be in your hands. Stay tuned for part 2. Hey, real quick, previously. Hope, you've been chosen as a juror on this murder case. So what started as a regular Monday turned into a whole murder case. Before I knew it, opening statements began. Now, usually the hardest question is, did he do it? Not in this case. He did it all right. There was video evidence and all. The question is, why did he do it? Quick side note, let me tell you about court. It's nothing like TV. I was expecting to see, I said objection, Your Honor. And I said overrule one more time and I'll hold you in contempt of court. But it was really more like watching a ping pong match. Here's why he should go to jail forever. Throw the book at him. He's not a killer, he's a gangster, and it was a misunderstanding. And don't forget all the times we had to leave the courtroom while they discussed more. So I'm about to break down 4 days of trial into a couple seconds. So 2 guys met in prison and were part of the same gang. They coincidentally reconnect when they're released at different times. They were pretty good acquaintances. They had some drug deals, some exchange words, and then things went left in 2019. That's when the men had an argument outside of the suspect's house. The details are a little shaky, but basically the man went to the suspect's house and the suspect shot him to get him off the property. The suspect did hit him, but the other guy didn't die. But because what happened, that's when the suspect said the other guy threatened his family's life. And according to the suspect, he was watching his back ever since. Fast forward to 2021. That's when the suspect said he was invited to a smoke shop by 2 of his friends. The suspect knew the victim went to the shop often, so he told his buddy to go out and make sure the guy wasn't there. Because according to him, he's always packing because he fears for his life. After once over, it was determined that the victim was not inside. So the suspect and his friends went to the back of the shop, and a couple minutes later, the victim shows up. Now here's where it got a little tricky. Within 3 seconds of the victim entering the room, the suspect shoots him. He missed a close range shot, but then he ran after him and gunned him down. The victim's body fell in the parking lot, and the suspect and his friends fled the scene. So now we had to decide, is this a cold hard killer? Or was he paranoid and this was an act of self-defense? And the attorneys were pretty good. They had you changing your mind every 5 seconds. This was basically a street war that was dropped in the lap of the court. A lot of gray areas. More of the story is don't get caught in the wrong place at the wrong time. In the hands of 12 strangers is not where you want your fate to lie. Stay tuned for the verdict in part 3. Hey, real quick, on the series finale. So what you're saying is 2 gang members had ongoing beef, leaving one of them dead? If you haven't been keeping up with this trial, watch part 1 and 2 because we're at the verdict now. It was basically a street war dropped in the lap of the court. Not gonna lie, one of the hardest parts of the case was hearing from the victim's daughter. She doesn't have her daddy anymore and she's getting bullied at school. And after that, there were other witnesses saying how good or bad the character of the suspect was. But after seeing all the evidence and hearing from the witnesses, it was time for the jury to deliberate. The suspect had 2 charges against him. There was a charge for murder, and another charge for unlawful possession of a firearm. And because he was deemed a habitual offender, the minimum was 25 years. That's 25 to 99 or life on both charges. So whether he was guilty or not guilty and the sentencing that came after it, all laid in our hands. That's right, 12 perfect strangers. Time to deliberate. It was pretty obvious to everyone that he was guilty on both charges, but what is the punishment? For the gun charge, everybody was on the same page. Give him 25 years. Oh, but that murder charge taught us more about each other. We had people ranging from 30 years to lethal injection. Yes, lethal injection, and it wasn't even an option. Is what he did bad? Absolutely. But if he didn't have any hope of getting out, what would be his motivation to change? From everything presented, it didn't seem like the suspect messed with anybody until they messed with him first. So after many discussions, we had to conclude that this was not a cold hard killer. Now let me emphasize, the life he took was still important. We just had to differentiate that it wasn't an innocent stranger. So ultimately we decided on 60 years so he can be eligible for parole in his 70s. And in case you were wondering, I didn't volunteer to be the foreman because you have to sign your name on that paper. Ain't about to track me down to retaliate. More of the story is do your best to live right. In the hands of 12 strangers is not where you want your fate to lie. What if you decide someone's future when you're hangry? Child, that's an extra 5 years right there.